tell me where the freak's at.
You saw a woman digging a ditch. As Cynthia just told us, it's 4% of the workforce of those people doing the heavy labor. Of course, Mark Rudolph usually takes these views. Mark, it's no surprise that you think this is nonsense.
Of course, David. I mean, Cynthia just resents that her house, her street, and the bridge she crossed today were built by men. If she wants to change the signs, let's change the roles, too. The next time you see a ditch in the street, why don't you have the man holding the detour sign and the woman down there fixing the broken sewer pipe? All right? And by the way, and then when you flush your toilet, your lights won't work. But this is just absolute insanity.
But Mark, what is the, hold on a second. First, there are 2 points. First of all, Cynthia said, we already have the federal regs that are supposed to prohibit signs that are gender specific about people working. And secondly, you know, what harm does it do to change this sign to this sign?
Well, it's first of all, we have lots of regs that make no sense and that they're based on political correctness. The second of all, the harm is the cost. There's absolutely no reason to do it when there's so much else going on in the world. I have a couple of ideas for signs. How about at divorce court we say women working the system to get child support and alimony? Or how about in a bar, women working it for free drinks? How about that?
Well, I got to tell you, for one thing, there are a number of men, at least in New York, we see it all the time, who get the alimony now, too. So you'd have to be gender neutral as far as alimony goes. But again, I don't see the harm. I got to tell you, as ridiculous as that first example of PC was, I just don't see the harm in putting workers, you know, making workers sort of a neutral term instead of saying men work. What is the harm?
Well, I'm not looking at it as harm. I'm looking at it as nonsense, and it's a waste of time and a waste of money. And Cynthia made a big deal about it just so she can get promotion for her magazine.
Mark Rudolph.
And you know what? I think this is going to put the urologists out of business because I think eventually men are going to go to gynecologists anyway.
Okay. Mark, you're going to have to come back for a totally separate segment on that one. Mark Rudolph, good to see you.
Because she's a mom, they say John McCain's running mate shouldn't be running for high office while running a household with small children. Now, are there sexist attacks bashing all working moms in America? We're going to debate this one. Joining us now is Tracy Burns and Mark Rudolph. He is the no-nonsense man. Welcome, Mark. Okay, are you saying that moms cannot run for higher office?
I am not saying that at all. I am saying, though, that women are the biggest practitioners of sexism and also the biggest attackers on Sarah Palin. Look who's attacking her. Ellen Goodman, Sally Quinn, Maureen Dowd, and let's not forget the National Organization of Whiners. And if you go to the NOW website, you can see they excoriate Sarah Palin. And what mistakes did Sarah Palin make? She loves her country, she loves drilling for oil, she loves low taxes, she loves her husband, a no-no with feminists, and she hates abortion.
Tracy, you know,
so the fact of the matter is feminism is sexism.
Tracy, I have to say he has a bit of a point. I've rarely said this, but, you know, you just go to drop-off and all the moms are talking about Sarah Palin this week.
Half of the people that have slammed her are Democrats, though. It's their job to slam her because she's a Republican, Mark, and this is what they do. You know, no one has said anything ever about, is Obama going to be a good dad because he's a working dad? And Sarah Palin has the perfect situation. She has a parent at home. Let's just leave her alone. This whole notion of a working mother should not even be on the table. We should be talking about whether or not this woman could run our country if John McCain, God forbid, happens to die. And she can, even with 5 children. She's done a damn good job running that state, and she'll be just fine in the White House. This whole notion to me is moot, and I don't think it's a feminist issue at all. I think it is more a Democrat issue. The feminists are just fine with her.
And Mark, you know,
the feminists are not. Wait a minute.
They are. The majority of them are. You're reading 3 articles from 3 outlandish feminists.
Tracy. Go to the National Organization of Whiners website, and you will see.
Why would I go to the National Organization of Whiners website? Why would I waste my time reading that garbage?
Tracy.
But who reads that, Mark?
Tracy, would you let me talk?
Please.
These are the people who say that they represent feminists. Feminism is sexism. And as I said before, women are the biggest practitioners of sexism because women want to be placed on pedestals. Women demand and get special rights like the Unconstitutional Violence Against Women Act, unconstitutional Roe v. Wade. Everywhere they go, they're getting special this, special that. And when women want double standards, here, they get double standards
Where's the
everywhere.
double standard?
So
She's not looking for a double standard. She has a household that is being taken care of just fine by her husband.
I'm a supporter of Sarah Palin. You're not listening to me.
You're picking
feminism,
out 5 people in
Tracy,
the world who are whining, and you're listening
Tracy,
to them.
Tracy, they have a lot of power. What I'm saying to you is, if women want to be treated like equals, they have to act like equals. So they have to stop. They have to stop demanding extra special rights.
No one is demanding extra special rights. Sarah Palin has not got up on the podium and said, you need to treat me differently because I wear a skirt. I never heard that out of her mouth, and I guarantee you never will.
Sarah Palin is the only woman who's ever achieved anything without complaining about men.
Mark,
I admire
you are the one right now who is doing the complaining. Every other woman, Hillary got to where she is because she deserved it, not because she complained about it.
Tracy, you're not listening to me. I'm a supporter of Sarah Palin. What distinguishes her from Hillary Clinton is Hillary Clinton gets up there and talks about the glass ceiling and the 18 million cracks. That's all bogus.
It's not.
The reason I like Sarah Palin, is because she's achieved something without blaming men for anything, without whining, without complaining. That's why the feminists don't like her.
Mark, there are still people in the world who are uncomfortable with the female commander-in-chief. Hillary Clinton did do something for the entire race.
And
all she did
Sarah
was set
Palin
it
has
back.
Mark's vote. Well, that's
right.
Going to sit well or not with a lot of women out there. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Mark.
For sales. Who knew she was looking for an experience? That stuff matters to women when they shop, says our own Tracy Burns. That stuff matters not one bit to men when they shop, says Mark Rudolph. Mark, of course, the author of The Man's No-Nonsense Guide to Women. So, Mark, that's the read I'm getting, that for women, shopping is an experience. For guys, it's not.
Well, Neil, I read the study from Wharton, and I think it's politically correct nonsense. It really has to do with 3 factors. How a woman is socialized as a little girl. Does she get rewarded for her tantrums, and does she turn shopping into an emotional experience? Number 2, how much idle time does she have? And number 3, is she spending her money, her husband's money, or her ex-husband's money? There are plenty of women who are executives, they're working, they're balancing families. They don't like to shop, they want to get into the store and get out just like men. So it's really stereotyping that we're talking about here. It's not gender-based, it's just based on your lifestyle.
All right, Pete didn't offend anyone there. Trace, what do you think?
Where do I begin? Mark, just because you want help from a saleswoman has nothing to do with your upbringing. It has everything to do with the fact that I'd like the blue shirt to match the blue skirt, and I don't know where to find it. And I'm a working woman. I have 3 kids. I actually like to take my time every now and then.
Why do you talk to the salespeople? Most of them have attitude, the ones I've
Because they should know about the products. They should know things that I don't know. Isn't that why they're there?
No, the ones I always see have like the glasses with the chain on them, and it's like... Anyway,
the study I read, but the study I read says that men get better attention in the stores than women do, and the reason is that the salespeople know that the men are going to disappear if they don't get good attention. The women who have the problem, and not all women do, the women who have the problem have this emotional attachment to the store and to shopping. So the salespeople know that, you know what, she's not going to get offended, she's not going to leave. Women need to start being harder in the store and saying, look, give me what I want or I'm getting out of here.
But that's not to say women can't be tough in a store, right? They
can be, but I'm just saying
around the sales bin. What are you talking about?
I'm just saying the women who are busy, the women who are spending their own money, and the women who don't think of shopping as a vocation will get better service because they know how to handle people.
Mark, this has everything to do with your likes versus a woman's like. You don't have to like shopping. Many women don't like shopping. But if you look at the way, say, Nordstrom's is laid out, Nordstrom's men's department, everything is in one place. And this is because this is the way men shop. Everything is in one place, whereas the women's...
Is it really?
Yeah, it is.
How close is it to the piano? Is that the place with the piano?
Yeah, it's right upstairs.
But Tracy,
you can hear it.
Tracy,
Whereas
if women would start...
Hang on, Mark. Whereas the women's department is divided by designer, by, you know, fitness versus evening wear. Women just see things differently. This has nothing to do with upbringing, whose money they're spending, and what they do in their spare time. It has nothing to do with that. Mark,
if women would start treating shopping, if women would start treating shopping as a transactional experience and not a vocation, the stores would rearrange how they design departments. When they know that women want to linger and spend hours in there, of course they're going to lay out the store that way, because that means women will spend more money.
Mark, there's a reason that Victoria's Secret does so well, and you should be appreciative that many women like to shop in places like that. Don't you think?
What does Victoria's Secret do?
Well, their store is laid out specifically for women. Actually, it's very funny when you see a man go in that store. He doesn't know what to do first.
You always feel like a
you're missing my point, Tracy.
But you argue that women and their discerning behavior is what's prompted those layout changes.
Absolutely, and this is why stores like that do well, Mark, because they appeal to the way we think. This has nothing to do, again, with upbringing or money. It's just the way men and women are different. Thank goodness.
Well, I disagree with you, Tracy. I know a lot of women who are very, very busy executives, and they don't have time for shopping, and they don't like shopping as a vocation. And if more women would shop like that, the stores would lay out their women's departments the way they lay out men's departments.
But it's just like, I don't have time for tennis, Mark. It's just what people like to do in their spare time.
Do you like to shop?
Tracy, when I play tennis this weekend, I'll think about you.
Please.
Mark, you don't like to shop, period, right?
No, I like to get in, get what I want, and get out. Okay. I don't like, I don't like shopping as a vocation, probably because I'm spending my own money, and I just don't have that much time.
All right, and you have a lot of money.
But when I want good service, I get it, Neil, because I ask for it.
All right, or they're intimidated. You scare them. That could be it, too. All right. But you're both great on this subject. I just prefer that the men's department be right by, like a food court. It's just...
And everywhere, and will actually stop women from cashing in on their offspring. Well, surprise, surprise, the man with that view is Mark Rudolph, and Lise Will disagrees. Mark, you can't actually believe this.
I absolutely believe it. Women are untruthful, they're unfaithful, and they're unabashedly mercenary. The gyno-judicial system allows them to commit paternity fraud, and that's exactly what's going on here, as Dan Springer said. They just did a study in New Hampshire. They found 30% of men paying child support were not the biological fathers. And a recent study in Australia of 6,000 DNA tests showed that 25% of the women were lying. So this is an anti-extortion kit that men need.
Mark, for every woman who is quote-unquote caught by one of these paternity tests, there are about 1,000 guys out there who've cheated on her, a woman out there. And you know what, Mark? There isn't a test that you can tell whether a guy has been cheating, Mark, like you can on this. I mean, and look, Mark, historically, paternity tests have been used by women trying to corral guys, into court to say, look, you get this tested because you are the father. And it's the guy saying, oh, no. Unless it's the case of Anna Nicole Smith, who, everybody wanted to get part of that paternity test, Mark.
Lise, that's a red herring, and it's irrelevant, and you know it. The fact of the matter is the DNA test helps the man because the man wants to know that he's not one of these defrauded guys. And the fact of the matter is women are having, 40% of children are being born out of wedlock today, and they're accusing men left and right. You're the father, you're the father. If women don't know who the father is, that means that they're sluts, and that's what's happening today.
All right, look, Mark, you ask any unmarried, single, divorced woman who's raising a child or more, and she will tell you that the cost, doctors, dentists, school, everything that comes with a child is way outweighed by anything that a non-custodial parent would chip in. The fact that you think that women are cashing in on kids is absolutely ridiculous. Single women out there have a hard time just even getting their kids through high school with the hope that maybe a few pennies will come in from dads who are reluctant to pay anything, who have to be dragged into court to take a paternity test, Mark.
Lisa, I just believe in following the money. Two names come to mind: Heather Mills and this Lauren Cleary, who was on the talk show the other night, Moment of Truth. Wait a minute.
Red herrings, I'm seeing red herrings.
Not a red herring. Most women act like Heather Mills. I told you this before. It's just a difference of scale. That's the reason. Look, if women thought raising a child was so expensive, then they would just forego all child support. The reason they want to snag men is because they want the child support.
No, that makes
they want the child support.
Mark,
that's why they do it. If the courts would say, if you're an unwed mother no welfare, no child support. Guess how many women would have babies out of wedlock? 0.
Oh, Mark, first of all, it takes 2 to make a baby. I don't know, you've probably never been in that position, but it takes 2, and there's no women out there that are going to say they're going to have a baby. We're not talking about any kind of special alimony for women. We're talking about child support for children that are bred by 2 people.
Lise, if unwed mothers would not get any child support, they would not have babies out of wedlock.
You are off the ranch again. I don't know what corral you're living in.
You come from the world of wind chimes and meadows and puppy dogs and sunflowers, but you don't come from the real world, Lise. Women commit paternity fraud all the time. I just read you statistics at the beginning of the segment. Those are real statistics.
None of those.
And lots of women are lying about the real fathers.
It's really interesting that none of those stats actually get into a courtroom where you have to have reasonable evidence. There's a reason for that, Mark, because they don't belong in a courtroom, these tests.
Okay,
As Ronald Reagan used to say, trust but verify. States should make DNA testing mandatory.
If you're taking paternity tests in a marriage, you've got bigger problems than a paternity test.
The last words. You had the first. Go ahead, Lise.
If you've got issues about paternity tests in a marriage, you've got bigger problems than that paternity test.
It's just like a
That's it.
Lise, it's just like a prenup.